there's this belt that spans from Spain through India that is responsible for the majority of the world's saffron crop. But you can grow it here in the United States, and I especially don't worry about it when we have fluctuations from rainy seasons to the drought like what we're having now in central New Jersey. While Iran, I think, grows somewhere like 80% of the world's saffron crop, think about how arid and dry that climate is. My friend Tara, she's rooted home, grows in the Mojave Desert. So this is something that can provide for you perennially without a lot of babysitting. I'm going to show you how you actually harvest saffron threads. I have been growing saffron, this is my second year. It's actually it looks like a crocus, but it doesn't come up in the early springtime like your common crocuses do. It actually comes up now, and then the rest of the season it overwinters, at least here in zone 7, central New Jersey, with these really thin green foliage leaves that stick around. So let me show you. Is a saffron crocus. Isn't that beautiful? Saffron grows by way of corms. They look like bulbs, they're kind of hairy. But if you are in an area where squirrels, voles, or mice are prevalent, you might want to protect them. In this little patch here, they grow freely. I just planted them in the ground and they do well. But I'm going to plant them in a different area where I do have a lot of vole activity. So I'm going to make a vole cage. Let me show you what that looks like today. Okay, so in the garden here, we have a permaculture garden, so no chemicals, but I'm happy to use environmental or physical or biological controls for keeping pests away. Voles, moles, mice, they are known to absolutely hate members of the allium family like garlic, chives, shallot, onion. And so what I'm going to do is use chives in this, now that it's planted, and I'll show you how I did that in a second. But I'm going to use chives, and the reason I'm opting for chives is because it seems to me that when you would pull your garlic, your shallot, or your onion out of the ground, that bulb, as it is coming up from the soil, seems to me like it would disrupt the corm of the saffron, because it has to be planted very, very closely in order to deter those rodents. So what I'm choosing to do is to do chives, and then also I'm creating a cage that's a physical deterrent. And so let me show you how I made that. Now that that's in the ground, again, I will establish chives. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is build a trench. The tomatoes are here now, but I'm doing the saffron in front of those. So what we're going to do is dig a shallow trench. We're talking about 1 foot deep by probably about 1 foot wide. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to inlay my hardware cloth. This is my cage. I'm using 1/4 inch hardware cloth. Mine measures 10 feet long by 3 feet wide. Once I get that laid out flat, I'm going to top with dirt and I'm going to press in place. This is going to make sure that the dirt settles and make sure that the hardware cloth rests at the bottom of our trench. That dirt is about 6 inches thick. So now it's time to go ahead and plant my corms from She's Rooted Home right on top of the dirt. Saffron corms can be planted as closely as 1 inch apart. I'm not sure how many I was given here, so I'm going to go ahead and just start planting a few inches apart, and if I have extras, then I'll interplant more tightly. So here we go. I filled my entire cage, and now I'm just going to add a little bit of dirt on top. It doesn't need to be a lot because we're going to fold over the hardware cloth, and then once we're done making our wrapping, we'll add more dirt on top. To fold it over, I just meet both of the sides together, but we need to keep them closed. So you have 2 ways of doing this. One is just to use the wire that came to keep the hardware cloth roll intact, and you can use it almost to sew the sides together, but that could take a really long time. So what I choose to do is just cut that wire into small sections, and then about every 6 inches, I just close the folded gap together by inserting a piece of wire and twisting at the top. As for the ends, I just fold them over as if I were wrapping a gift. And then I smash it very tightly with my hands and my feet. And this side, because it butts up against the edge of one of my beds, I'm going to place it under a rock. But the other end will hold together nicely, even though it doesn't have a rock and it's just going to be planted under the dirt. I then add my dirt back on top, and then on top of that, put native soil. Now you can't see the crop cage at all. The saffron crocuses and their leaves will come up through the 1/4 inch hardware cloth, and voles can't get at it. So, with all that said, This is saffron, the world's most expensive spice. Yes, it's labor intensive to harvest it. And yes, it's labor intensive to protect it, but it's so well worth it. Creating a cage like that is certainly a lot of work, but now it's just a one and done thing. You have saffron for years to come.